Sorry, was introduced on September 19th by the Liberal government under Minister of Justice Sean Fraser, the my favorite anti-hero. The guy, he's like the opposite of Midas touch. Everything he touches goes to shit. It doesn't go to gold. He was what? He was a Minister of Housing.
Immigration as well?
Immigration.
Housing Minister, Immigration Minister, and now Public Safety, or?
No. Now he's the Justice Minister.
Yeah, Justice Minister. Yeah.
Yes. So let's see if we can go 3 for 3. You know, you destroyed the immigration system, you collapsed the housing market. Now let's just see if we can just become the most violent society in Canada.
With no justice.
Oh God, yeah. So Bill C9 is presented as a direct response to a horrifying rise in hate crime. Targeting community, I don't know why I said it like that, but it's just so freaking, like, I roll my eyes at it. Targeting communities based on race, religion, and sexual orientation. The government's stated goal is to strengthen the criminal code to better protect Canadians and ensure they can feel safe in their communities. Never mind going after actual criminals and bank robbers and thieves and home break-ins. No, we got to protect your feelings.
Yeah.
Feelings are important in this world. So
important for liberals.
Very much so. However, the bill is generating significant controversy from civil liberties and constitutional rights organization, and rightfully so. You'll see why. The core criticism is that the proposed laws are overly broad, risk criminalizing protected speech and peaceful protests, and remove important legal safeguards, potentially leading to a chilling effect on public debate. Wonder when's the last time did that cough cough freedom convoy. In essence, while the government frames the bill as a necessary shield for vulnerable groups, critics argue that it could be wielded as a sword against fundamental chartered rights. So, all right, that's like a nice low intro, but let's look a little bit what it does. First of all, it creates a new hate crime offense, because right now in the Criminal Code of Canada, hate is an aggravating factor in the commission of a crime. So let's say you kill someone, but you do it in a hateful manner. That's worse, apparently, okay? Because murder is not already bad enough as it is. But what the government wants to do, what Sean Fraser and Carney want to do, is they want to make it a separate, standalone offense. Hate is by itself now a crime. Now, that risks obviously stigmatizing defendants before a conviction because, you know, like, think about it, and that's a good kind of point to consider. You're in a jury trial for a criminal offense. Let's say, I don't know, you shouted something at someone. I don't know, you called someone a dirty X, let's say. And you were arrested for it. And now you're in a court of law and you're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But on top of that, you're charged with hate. Right off the bat, that puts a label on you. Like, how can a jury or a juror sit there on a jury and think, yeah, this person was probably a good person? No, it creates right away this stigma of, like, you're a hateful person. Motivation should be an aggravating factor, as it is right now in sentencing, but it should never become a separate charge. Another thing, too, is that it criminalizes blocking access or intimidating people at places of worship, schools, and community centers. Now, at face value, sounds okay. You shouldn't be, blocking people. However, this could lead, obviously, since the definition is so broad as to what is considered intimidation or blocking access, it could prevent people from exercising their rights to protest. Let's say there was this organization you absolutely believed were repugnant, and you wanted to host a protest in front of their place of business, let's say, but on public land. You're not on their private property, you're on a sidewalk, let's say, which is public area. Now, this could be considered a hate offense, and you could be arrested for that.
Essentially, they're removing the right to protest indirectly. And
it's always going to be done indirectly. And that's what I've realized, is
Absolutely.
That the government's never going to do it outright and tell you, yeah, we're removing your rights. People would obviously rebel against that. But they do it in these low, insidious, always under the guise of doing something right, but they encroach slowly but surely, a little bit more power, a little bit more control, always. Just like, just take the shot. It's to save your grandmother. Take the shot. Anyway, so another thing that it does is it creates a new hate symbol crime. So it bans public displays of symbols like the Nazi swastika or terrorist entity flags that willfully promote hatred. Now, in my eyes, that is insane. That is insane. Not because I believe in the Nazi swastika or, let's say, the Hamas flag. I am against both of those things. However, I am absolutely for the free expression of someone. Now, it doesn't mean they're not going to have heat for it. If I see someone flying a Nazi flag, I might call him, a certain kind of word. However, I still believe his right should be upheld that he's allowed to fly it. If he's willing to endure the public shame that comes with it, it should not be criminal in my eyes.
It's not a crime.
It shouldn't be a crime, right? It also codifies a definition of hatred. So it adds a definition based on a Supreme Court jurisprudence. Sadly, the thing is that it appears to lower the legal threshold for what constitutes hatred from the initial established Supreme Court standard to a much lower threshold. I don't have the text of it, but effectively it just makes anything that goes against someone's feelings as potentially hatred. We're basing our laws now on feelings.
On subjectivity.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it, on subjectivity. And that is incredible because we're going to see in the UK what subjectivity can do.
What a disaster. We're actually going to be able to see the outcomes of legislation like this when it passes and it's implemented bureaucratically and enforced by law enforcement. I've prepared a sequence of videos that are essentially going to illustrate how, if legislation like Bill C2, Bill C9 are passed, how they could potentially be implemented and how citizens will see their lifestyle change as a result of it. And some of these videos that I have been storing for weeks and weeks are horrifying, but they're happening in the UK.
And I think it's very important because people, again, when we talk about it, it probably flies like 40,000 feet over most people's heads. They can't fathom, they can't visualize how it would impact them day to day. But this shows what these kinds of laws that are already implemented in other countries that we assume are free societies, well, and not so quick. It actually ends up being incredibly tyrannical.
The UK is the birthplace of common law. People kind of people aren't really aware of that these days, but our civil society, the way our society is structured, a lot of it is because of British common law.
Absolutely.
And so to watch essentially the pillar of democracy, one of the pillars of democracy, essentially fall to this far left thought crime kind of
but that's what it
behavior.
is.
That's exactly what it is. Think a certain way, behave a certain way, talk a certain way, dress a certain way. And some of these examples that I'm going to show you are completely horrifying, and in terms of living in a free society. And so,
well, you know what? Okay, so just in short, just so that people can understand, and I'll put it in like plain talk, right? Bill C9 creates a brand new offense for hate. Now, hate is broad and can be subjective, and that itself can get you imprisoned. And by the way, when we're talking about imprisonment here, this new bill will increase prison time for hate-motivated mischief and speech from 2 years to 7 years. That means you could be locked up in federal prison for 7 years because you said something that could be considered hateful. That's the basic of it. So first of all, I encourage everyone to like go on your Facebook timeline, right? Like on this day, you can check like back in the days. When I was like 16, 17, 18, the shit that we would post that were completely normal to post on the internet today would probably send me to the gulag for 7 years.
Yeah, it's thought suppression.
Absolutely.
That's what they're doing. It's you express a certain thought and an opinion. Especially as a conservative, we tend to go against the liberal narratives, especially on their economic front and their policies and their authoritarian legislation, that criticizing that can be considered hate.
Yep.
Criticizing the status quo, even if, even if the government in power is liberal because they were voted in power, but criticizing them can be categorized as hate.
Yeah.
And so this is how these things kind of fester in society, and then they become this they become a disaster.
It
becomes no other way to say it.
Yeah, and make no mistake, this is about mostly controlling what's said online. Because I think now the new front for discourse and for the sharing of ideas is obviously done online. And the government has no tools, at least not openly, to control such things, right? Now, we've learned that, for example, Google was asked by the Biden administration last week. It was revealed in a House Oversight Committee, I believe, that the Biden admin targeted various dissenters by asking Google to remove their YouTube videos.
My YouTube channel was deactivated during the election cycle. I was creating YouTube content. It started going viral. It was very wholesome content. They just took down my channel. No appeal. I appealed once. They rejected it automatically within 10 minutes. So it's an automated rejection, and then I appealed again. Boom, your channel will not be put back on YouTube. I tried to message them. They're like, nope, we found that you essentially, this is what thought suppression.
Yep.
This is how legislation like C2, and C9 will this is how it will kind of is transpire the right word?
Yeah.
Manifest in society. How
manifest in society. All right. So let's give some concrete example, right? If you want to pull out some of the
UK clips,
some of the UK clips.
Oh my god. Okay.
So we're gonna put on TV right now, and after we're gonna put this on the screen. So you're gonna see this.
Okay. So the first one, I made this. I chose this one because it's the most ridiculous one.
And just to give context, by the way, okay, what we're about to show you are examples, because Canada's Bill C9 mimics very closely certain German laws or certain British, UK, United Kingdom laws on hate speech and online content. And we're trying to show you what it can lead to, the decay it can bring to society. And if you think you're immune to it, because I hate when people say this, they say like, well,
it's not going to happen here.
Well, not only that, they'll say like, if you don't do anything bad, if you got nothing to hide, you got nothing to worry about. No. Look, listen, we've all said stupid shit online, every single one of us. And guess what? Yeah, you see, we got EK over here. He's like, yes, you know, and we were never scared of being arrested for it. Embarrassed, maybe a little, but arrested, no. So let's see this.